our friend from NBC Sports Boston, Tom Curran, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Tom?
Top of the world. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I appreciate you pulling over to the side of the road to have another chat with us. Good to see you.
Love it.
So
I'm always happy to come on.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. How have things already felt different with Jerod Mayo at the helm for about a month, Tom?
Well, it is definitely a lot different, and I think that the main way that we're seeing in a tangible fashion is the coaching staff being filled out with such a huge number of coaches. Patriots always had traditionally one of the smallest coaching staffs in the league under Bill. He liked to have guys who came up under him, who understood his way of doing things and would do things as Bill kind of instilled in them, the values and, different categories of importance. And I think with Jerod, he is flying quite a bit. And I think the franchise is as a whole flying by the seat of its pants to a degree, because with Bill and Jerod, I think that the plan was success. They wanted and expected to succeed in 2023, and they expected Bill to see the end of the 2-year contract in 2024, and then perhaps to have a succession plan if Bill decided at that point he wanted to step away. The fact that they failed to do that in 2023 accelerated the entire process. So I don't think that anybody would look at this, Rich, and say, yeah, this is exactly what we had planned. So first off, the coaching staff is different. I think that there's a greater openness on Jerod's part to being accessible. He's stated that. So, but really, I think we're going to see the concrete nature of it as we go through this off season and have opportunities. But there is definitely a learning on the job component to this that I think really should impact some of their draft decisions, which is probably a conversation for another day.
Well, actually, I plan on having it on this day, but before we get to that, I know that before we get to that, they're still serving Duncan, though, right? I mean, things haven't gone completely off the rails, right? There it is, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Tommy.
Just want to make sure. Okay, they're still taking care of you that way. So let's talk about the third overall pick and openness. I think I know I saw. I just don't know who was interviewing Jerod Mayo after he took the job. When asked about the third overall selection, he says, we're going to take the best player at the most important position, and kind of laughed and smiled. Now, that's quarterback, clearly. What do you think? What are you hearing about the third overall conversation?
I think, put it this way, I think that the quarterbacks would have to eliminate themselves from consideration in order for the Patriots to not take a quarterback. By that, I mean that their leaning seems to be significantly in the direction of a quarterback. To me, I think the team is in such poor straits offensively, and they are trying to implement a program. I wonder if the Patriots even deserve to take a quarterback at this juncture. Huh. I mean, they're in disarray on the offensive line. They don't have a top-end receiver. They don't have a tight end under contract. They have one running back, Ramondre Stevenson, under contract. So there are so many different places. Now, you can say, well, you don't get a chance to pick in the top 3 all the time. You don't have your chance at a pick of the litter quarterback. And I totally understand that. So if the Patriots are convinced that they see the quarterback, whether it be Jaden Daniels or Drake May, and they say, that's a guy who can absolutely propel us, and we see him living through and getting to a second contract with us and being a playoff caliber quarterback, then go ahead. But if you have any reservations at all, and the most important reservation in my mind is, what's the resiliency level of the player? Because the team is going to not be good. They're going to have a coaching staff that is sorting itself out and finding out what its own identity is. So how will that player do when he's blamed for not being a good player right away? Will his family say, hey, they're hosing you here, this is a bad situation? Or do they find the most resilient kid possible? Like, what's the difference between Mac Jones and Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow's a better player, but why was Joe Burrow able to go 4-9-1, get injured, take all the sacks he did, and still come through the way he did? You could say, well, Cincinnati did a great job surrounding him with talent, but why did Mac Jones not? Mac Jones had a better rookie year. Again, he's not as strong-armed as Joe Burrow, but the development around him suffered, and now he's virtually unusable. So I think that the resiliency and the mental makeup of that player has to be so far above what normal expectations for any other player is that has to be a major consideration. And if he's not there, don't take him.
Well, what about maybe handling that business in free agency or using any of their draft capital? And I know, as you just mentioned, you need a ton of help. You need a lot of coal for this engine, new coal for this engine. What about Justin Fields, if he's available? What are you hearing about the Patriots maybe making a move for a veteran before the draft and using the 3rd overall pick on Marvin Harrison Jr. instead? What about that?
To me, it's just conversation as to, what do you want to do at that position? Say Justin Fields rips it up, and then you're in a position now where, okay, we just spent a year with Justin Fields. We really like him. We really like the way he played. Now we have to pay him $30 million. I think you like the controlled nature of the rookie contract with a quarterback. You have a pool of stand-ins, bridge quarterbacks, whether it be Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, even Jimmy Garoppolo, despite the 2-game suspension. Go ahead and do that, and then maybe take a quarterback later. Or do that and say, okay, we're going to sort it out. Can Bailey Zappi be our backup? I wouldn't move on from Mac Jones until you absolutely know that's an asset that you cannot use. You don't need him anymore. Excuse me. But to me, I wouldn't make any decisions until you have to make the decisions. The first decision has to be made, though, Rich, in a couple of weeks at the beginning of free agency.
Yeah, and that was going to be my follow-up question is, what about Mac Jones as a bridge quarterback? Because, again, I know you use the words virtually unusable with him.
Yeah.
And I know the fan base is really down. That's an understatement. Brockman over there is already blanched at the conversation.
Everybody blanches.
Just even being broached, but why not, right? I mean, is he totally irredeemable there, Tom?
It's not that long ago, Brock, that he actually had a game against the Buffalo Bills that he brought the team back to win 29-25. So there's a quarterback in there. There's a quarterback in there who can play. But what if things go sideways here? Or what if, even if they're going well, he is so mentally broken in New England that he's double thinking and triple thinking? And the leadership aspect, I think, was difficult for the organization to swallow. Despite the bad situation that most people agree he was put in coach-wise, I think his acting out really soured, not completely, but certainly soured the organization on whether or not they can see him as a leader all the time. And I think it might be best for both sides if they move on from each other. But in a vacuum, when you look at it, you say, well, it's a kid on his 4th year of his rookie contract. It's manageable. We've seen him win games in the NFL. Why would we move on from him? And it's the extraneous things that make that decision for you. The blanching, it's an epidemic of blanching every time you mention Mac Jones up here. But it makes sense to play it out until you look at but really, what's it going to be like if he throws a pick? People are going to lose their minds.
Like the Colts game in Germany.
Well, yeah. But like I said, when I saw him prior to that game, he was trying to be positive, and he was very positive, and I loved talking to him. But as I said before, he needed a hug. You know what I mean? Like, he just needed a hug. He just and that wasn't coming. It wasn't
no
coming.
Forthcoming.
Honestly, man. But those picks were terrible. I mean, Belichick had no choice but to hand Bailey Zappi a mop and say, you try and clean up this mess at the end of the game. I don't know where the fake spike came in, but.
What's interesting, too, is don't forget, he got the start the next game after the bye week, all the time in the world to prepare for Tommy DeVito and the Jets, and he threw 2 picks in the first half, like mind-numbing picks. So that, to me, is an indication of, okay, he can't think it through. These are mistakes. One was a breakdown between he and the receiver that folks have said was not on him. The other one was just a bad throw. But, everything he does right now is seen through the prism of Mac's a bad leader, Mac doesn't have a strong enough arm, Mac's soft, and Mac can't play here. And I don't agree with all those things. I think he's going to have success someplace. but I just don't think that it's here.
Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston, here on the Rich Eisen Show. What are you hearing that Belichick's going to do in 2024? Anything?
Well, Steve Belichick was on with Chris Long on the Green Light podcast last week, and he alluded to television, which is something that I actually mentioned before the end of the season, because I think there's a good opportunity for Bill to do a reset and get the right situation. I think in a lot of ways Atlanta could have been the right situation, at least roster-wise. They have the offensive talent. Bill has not been great with offensive player selection, but they had everybody but the quarterback in that organization. So it was a good situation, but it didn't pan out. If Bill goes on TV and he acts the way he did with you on the NFL 100 and he finds the right situation, it was intimated, I think it was Adam Schefter tweeted that Bill would like to find a place that has a smaller media contingent so that people are not invading his space with his coaches. I don't know if that's out there. So I would imagine television would probably be the landing spot right now, Rich.
Yeah, I would think so for sure. But I guess Steve...
What are you hearing?
Nothing. Zero.
He could plop down right next to you.
I would love it. He's welcome here. My guy Del Tufo will give him a slip for his boat. You know what I mean?
I got one right
all
next to
he's got to do
open.
is just get it through the Panama Canal, and he's got a spot here. That's all he's got to do. Because, I think he's got the ability to do that. Honestly, Tom, he would be dynamite at it. And Steve Belichick said, I guess, that he might show up at in Seattle, University of Washington, every now and then just to check things out. Or I guess he was looking at all the players for Steve to go through. He's the greatest coach of all time. Honestly, he's the greatest X's and O's guy and diehard ball guy I've ever come across in my 20-plus years of doing this.
The greatest ever. In-game coach in NFL history, bar none. I mean, who else in 2014 is going to sit there and stare at Pete Carroll chewing gum with a timeout in his pocket, the team on the 2, and say, no, I'm not calling timeout. They look a little disorganized. The in-game coaching of Bill will never be really paralleled because you have to have a level of success to get to that brass balls level of, I'm going to do this.
So before I let you go, I'm watching the Dynasty doc, seeing you in the background every now and then on Apple TV. And the conversation that you hear all the time in our business of, well, Belichick's overrated. He's nothing without Brady. Listen, Andy Reid doesn't have this Hall of Fame, run that he's going on without his quarterback. And the quarterback needed Andy Reid to become Patrick Mahomes. And the first couple of episodes of this documentary just crystallizes how tough a decision it was for Belichick to stick with Brady, not once, but twice. Once after getting smoked by the Rams, after Bledsoe is cleared to return, and then once when Bledsoe gets them to the Super Bowl against the Rams when Brady gets hurt. And Super Bowl week, he sticks with Brady again. What's your recollection of those moments when you see this, Tom?
That was, to me, my biggest sticking point with the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
Bledsoe was like 10 for 21 for 73 yards in that AFC Championship game. He hit Joey Porter between the 5s. He threw another pass over his head, falling down. He was a problem before. Somebody did a really interesting thing. They compared Mac Jones' numbers to Tom Brady's numbers, to Drew Bledsoe's numbers in their final 26 starts. Mac Jones actually had better numbers. Drew Bledsoe at that point was not the same quarterback. So the decision Bill made was convincing the fan base and ownership that he doesn't have it anymore. But it was very clear to people covering the team, and there was no decision to be made going into the Super Bowl. I mean, Tom was like, I think 12 for 18 for $130 in the first half before he got hurt. So to me, that my recollection, and even in that Saints game, the Rams game, if you look at that game, the Patriots came out of that game on top of the world. There was no one looking at Tom Brady and saying this guy needs to be replaced. They highlighted the 2 picks, but that was 24-17, and the Patriots and the Rams both said, wow, that was a really close game. That was a really tough game. Yeah, he had 2 picks, yes. But overall, and Brady did it the next week against the Saints, they showed that there wasn't a decision to be made. Now, Bledsoe felt entitled to his position, which one would understand with a $100 million contract. But the Patriots built the trap door into that contract because of their misgivings. Remember, the landscape was the Patriots were building a new stadium. They were the worst team in the NFL by record and by roster in most people's minds. They needed a hood ornament to build the new stadium. Bledsoe was a hood ornament, but they didn't love the way he played. Bill had undressed him at Cleveland, at New York. And once they had an opportunity to replace him and Brady played at the level that they thought he might, it was curtains.
So it wasn't as gutsy a call as it's being portrayed in this documentary?
It was gutsy in that Bill was walking the same plank he walked in Cleveland. I thought they did an awesome job of illustrating just how poisonous and toxic the Cleveland situation was for Bill to stick his hand back in that fire. But the fan base and a large contingent of the media was 50-50. Fan base was probably 60-40, enough of Drew. And I think the media was closer to 50-50. I mean, I remember saying to Ron Borges the night that he got hurt, don't be too nice to him because he got, and I didn't know how bad it was. I said, just because he got hurt, don't ignore how bad he's been in this game. And then when we found out, I said, he's not going to get his job back, Ron. I told him the next day, and we argued for an hour.
I bet. I bet. So have you learned anything over the first 4 episodes at all, Tom, of this doc?
I love to hear the words put to it in a way that they haven't been before by people like Scott Pioli.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot there. I learned more intimately and granularly the FU nature of the 2007 season. You know, you could sense it, but just to hear the players articulate how much they wanted to dominate the competition. But I'll tell you, the episodes coming up, I've had the opportunity to watch them because I was, asked to contribute. It's really, really good.
They are great.
And even this one. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Go ahead, buddy.
No. I'm sorry. I mean, interrupt. My 13-year-old is the diehard Patriot fan of my 3 kids. It's like a learning experience for him. It's like a history lesson for him.
It is. It's amazing. And the next 2, I believe, are Brady's knee injury, which you're like, do I really want to watch that? Yes, you do, because they do a very nice job of showing how well Castle played. He didn't play as well as kind of is indicated, but how, and I love Matt, just got off the phone with him, but they show that Brady watching Castle succeed put him on pins and needles and reminded him just how replaceable everybody is, which led to the Jimmy drafting, which led to Brady's response to that, which led to his need for that last contract that didn't come. So Brady was always mindful, and you're going to see this as we go through these few episodes of, I know how I got this job. It was because of a door that was cracked open and I slithered through it. Somebody else can do that to me.
How about that? All right, before I let you go, what do you think the Patriots are going to do? I know it's a big question. 7 weeks out, pretty much here. What do you think?
I think they're going to take the quarterback, but I will continue to say every chance I get as a paid mouthpiece / hot take artist that they should trade down unless they know that they have the quarterback and there are no reservations at all, and that they're not going to have Sam Darnold or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or you name the quarterback that ended up on the scrap heap. Unless you know that, don't take him.
Because the cupboard's that bare, essentially. What you're saying?
They have 3 players, Rich, who I think would be looked at as possible starters on other teams on offense. Ramondre Stevenson, maybe Demario Douglas as a slot, and David Andrews. Otherwise, nobody's under contract. And Lenu's up, Hunter Henry's up. They have to re-sign all those guys, too.
Tom, appreciate the time, man. Look for more of my texts and calls. You're the best. Thanks, pal. Drive safe.
You're the best.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Right back at you. It's Tom Curran. I love it. Every time we chat. Love every time. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.